Welcome to another Forte Growth episode where we interview people doing awesome things online.
Welcome to the Forte Growth Podcast, home of the Forte Analytica SEO agency. Make sure you hit them up for any of your links and digital PR. But today we had Randy Rohde and we cover everything press release. And you might be thinking, okay, press releases, typically people often talk about them maybe underpowered. They don't move the needle as much. They don't juice your site up as much, and they don't stick around for very long. But we address everything to do with press releases and how you can essentially go against that and make them work better for you. And we give everything through the perspective of someone who owns or runs a niche or affiliate site or e-commerce site. We also touch on local as well. So if you're listening to this, you're in any of those spaces, which you likely are listening to this, then this is for you. We go into all the details, what, when, why, how of press releases. We go into the best practices, how you should go about doing press releases, how often you should do press releases, what pages you should link to. I mean, we've gone to everything. So after you listen to this, you should be pretty well versed and ready to go to start your first campaign. But make sure you check out Randy's study of digital marketing. If you do go to press releases, we don't get anything from it, but he does a good job there. So make sure you check that out. All the links will be in the description for that too. But sit back and enjoy. All right. Welcome to the Forte Growth Podcast. Today we have Randy Rohde. Welcome, Randy.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. Thank you. I'm good. It's good to have you on to talk everything press releases. I think there's a lot of potential misconceptions around the idea of press releases, at least from a link building standpoint. But do you want to maybe give a brief background about yourself for the listeners who aren't familiar with you?
Yeah. So Randy Rohde, I'm also known as the news guy. We do the news guy. Yeah. We do a lot of press releases. We write them, we distribute them, we do placements, and I've been doing that. It started with our agency back in 2016. I had another company, another business, and I think in 2008, I decided I'm going to build my own website and kind of manage our own pay-per-click campaigns. And so started doing that. And I had a couple of other associates in the industry like, hey, would you kind of do some of this stuff for us? And I'm like, okay, sure. So I started doing that for them. And then I ended up selling my business. But these folks, these associates were like, can you continue to do this other stuff for us? The agency stuff that you were doing? I'm like, sure. So, and then I just decided I think maybe my next venture will be just an SEO agency. And so launched that. So on the agency side, we do all of the kind of typical kind of SEO services, SEO, web design, content creation, video stuff. But then in 2017, we started as well distributing press releases. And so we built out our network there and really have been going pretty hard at doing press releases and other services along with that. So, but yeah, it's been a good ride so far. It's been a lot of fun.
Awesome, Matt. And that's where I kind of want to direct this podcast towards the press release side. And for anyone listening, affiliate owners, e-commerce, all that, we're going to direct it towards you guys too. So there's some actionable stuff. But I think a good place to start this is what the hell are even press releases in context? People think press releases, you've got niche edits, guest posts, all that kind of stuff. So where does it fit in that paradigm?
Yeah. So, the great thing with press releases, they're a fabulous source of links for your site and really helps from a link diversity standpoint. So you can get a ton of great links from authoritative sites like AP News or Digital Journal or Benzinga or, Rattle Off, Yahoo, whoever, right? All of these great news sites talking and having your story posted on their platform, giving you a link, and it's highly reputable. I mean, it's like, regardless of what your business is, it's what big enterprise corporations do, right? I mean, some of these enterprise, Microsoft or Procter & Gamble, I mean, these guys are doing a press release every day on something that they're doing, right? Or something that they've released. And so these are very natural, high profile links that you can add to your site, to your small business, doesn't matter. And I always tell people, a press release, the typical press release, it's got to be something newsworthy, right? But that can be full realm of different ideas. It could be maybe you've just updated your website or it's a new website. Maybe you've got a piece of content that you've just posted on your site that places you as an expert, right? Saying like, hey, Randy just shared how to blah, blah, blah. Maybe you're releasing new services or a new product. I mean, those are all newsworthy. It's some award you've received locally, an event that you attended that you were recognized for. So it can be anything quote unquote newsworthy that we can then turn into a press release. So I should say as well, there's different types of press releases.
Okay.
And we can hit on some of these and how you might use them. But there's purely the SEO type purpose, where you're trying to build links, you're trying to grab some of that authority from these other sites to kind of push your keyword ranking that you're looking for. And you would use those maybe whether it's in a local, if you're a local business, you're trying to rank up on the map pack, whether you're national and building your brand or whether you're doing affiliate work, so an SEO purpose style press release is one type. Then there's the other kind that are just like the viral, where we would send it out through our normal distribution, but it's an article and a headline that's really is written to go viral, to get as many kind of organic pickups beyond where we might distribute through our network. And then there's another one that's really as a press release, but it's really more of a featured article placement. So we're going to write a story about you, James, something you've done or about your product, your brand, and then we're going to go pitch it and get you placed on very specific publications or news sites that would be important to your niche.
Go down that road as well. Do you think then, because you mentioned a lot of the big enterprise companies are doing this almost daily, do you think doing press releases for someone who maybe has an affiliate or small e-com site, it almost makes you quote unquote legitimate maybe in Google's eyes? Because obviously now with the reckoning that's happened in the niche site space since the Health Content update, do you think a press release could potentially maybe lend a hand in making you look more legitimate to Google?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And because the search engine, Google, is going to look at companies and trying to understand that are they a real company? And doing press releases is something a real company would do. And heralding their specific kind of newsworthy information. So yeah, press releases, I think, are a fabulous way to establish your brand authority and make your site, regardless whether it's a little niche affiliate site, a small business, but it's a great way to really post it up there that you are a real business, you're a real brand. Let's talk about it.
What's your take on that? A lot of people also say that press releases aren't worth doing because they don't hold much power for the site. So people would prefer to do guest posts and niche edits. And you may get some links, for example, you mentioned Benzinga, AP News, etc., but you also get maybe another 400 referring domains of other random news sites within that. Do you see there's, I guess, value in juicing up a page using press releases versus doing something like guest posts or niche edits, or why would you do one or the other?
First off, and I would say, I think you should do all.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you need links. And, people will say press releases are challenging because they have a life cycle, right? They have a lifespan, and every news site or publication kind of defines that for themselves. But they may range from 6 months to 18 months, maybe, of staying active, and then you're going to lose. And that's a reality. I mean, that's what a press release is, right? Now, there are things that you can do and that we do to engage the news sites and say, hey, these are, getting some attention. You should keep them up. And so we have press releases that are out there for years that the links are still active out there. So it's kind of what you do on the back end of the press releases that can really help extend that life cycle. And, you can't control, and Google understands this as well. You send out a press release, you're going to get all different types of news publications that are going to pick it up. Some may be like, well, why would they pick it up? Well, they just pick up. That's what they do. You might get some real estate small magazine out on Long Island, New York, that's going to pick up, something about your plumber story. But they're just looking for content. That's what a press release does. The value for you is that you're getting another brand placement, another link placement on a publication. And regardless, a link is a link, and you should just embrace those links. So if it's some farm journal that picks up your plumbing PR, hey, thank you. Give me some more, please. Yeah. So I just think a link is a link, which is great. You want link diversity. You want the number of link kind of hitting back to your site. And keep in mind as well, you're building links per page on your website, not just to your homepage. And so you want all of this link kind of juice flowing to any page that's important to you. I wouldn't necessarily build a press release and just send it to your contact page. Clearly, to any service, location page or product page, category page on your site, yeah, you're going to want to do a press release and be sure you target that within the press release. Get those links.
You mentioned about keeping those press releases indexed. I think you presented on that at the Digital Unfiltered last year in Vegas. You talked a lot about
Yeah.
that as well. How much are you willing to share on the podcast just in terms of being able to keep those in?
Yeah, so I will tell you. So there's a lot of different things. What I tell folks, and we do a lot of different things kind of internally. So I'll give you a few tips on what
All
you
right.
can do is you get your press release. Say you get a release from us, you're going to get a PDF report, you're going to get an Excel report with all of the links. And so now what do you do, right? So here's a couple of examples. You can take the PDF report and go post that out there because the PDF report, the links in it are going to be live. So you take that PDF report and go post it or publish it on, I don't know, there's like 300 plus like free PDF sites where you can post your PDF and publish it. You go grab, 10 or so of those. And some of that stuff you can even just automate, but go grab a handful of those and go publish your PDF report up on those sites just so you can get. And what that does is that PDF site then is going to create a tier 2 link for all of those press release links.
Mhm.
So it's a way to send a signal to the search engines and to the news sites. Hey, there's things that are linking to these news publications. They're important. They have weight to them. So it's a signal. You can do the same with the Excel file. You can go and take those, and this is something that we like to do is I like using a Google Sheet because I can go and I can convert that pretty easily and make it public. And then I can go and, well, you can do a lot of different things to it. At that point, I put it in a public folder. I can send a number of Web 2 links to go power up the folder, power up the specific Google Sheet, which in turn is going to power up all of the links that are on that sheet. You can get really crazy and go through GSA links at that Google folder. You're not going to crash that thing. So you can do a lot of crazy stuff with that. One of the things that we do though as well is that we'll take a specific handful of like really some of the most prominent news links, like maybe the AP News or the Digital Journal or the Benzinga, and we'll take those specific and go build links to those specific article pages. Now, I caution people, don't go crazy overboard with doing that, meaning you can't send thousands of links to it. That's not good because that will send kind of the opposite signal to, like AP is going to go look at that and go like, oh, somebody's spamming this thing. We're going to pull this article down. And so you can really just, I've seen where people have done that and they pulled the article down in a matter of weeks even because AP is like, they're protecting
Yeah.
their site as well. But if you're reasonable and you send maybe 100 or so links, it's kind of reasonable and maybe drip them out over a little bit. And that's a reasonable play. But it sends a good signal to the news site is people are linking to this. And, if you're into CTR manipulation, you can go send a little bit of traffic at those links as well, which is always good. And it's a way, again, to signal those publications that the article has interest. And so we want to keep it up, not only just indexing, but we want to keep it up longer. I swear, I don't know if they do it this way exactly, but here's a theory that I have on these, which is, a site like Digital Journal as an example. I think internally they have their policy that says we're going to, rotate a article off active status, and maybe that's 12 months. I don't know what it is exactly for Digital Journal. But I think if you can kind of trigger enough activity, meaning send a link or maybe send a little bit of traffic over a time period, that I think it kind of flips an automatic switch with the platform. And so they'll say, oh, this thing is getting some stuff. Let's keep it up longer. I say Digital Journal only because we've had like the best success with Digital Journal keeping those links up active. I mean, as I said, we have some of those sites up that are 4 years plus now, those releases. And we're like, wow, that's great. And we just keep sending a few links to them from time and again. But I think it does something internally with the news platform. They're like, hey, let's let's keep this up past. And so I was telling this to somebody the other day. I was like, I think what they do, they have their deadline. If you send some power to it, then they like just automatically extend it for another deadline. Like maybe it's 6 months or 12 months, whatever it is. But I think they just kind of automatically, do it that way. Nobody is looking at these things manually, obviously. So they've got some kind of a automated principle around them. So we're just trying to, I guess, kind of play with that a little bit.
No, I love it. Let's jump into some best practices as well for press releases. And I'm going to give just two examples just for the listeners to make it more actionable. So let's just say shoe niche, and they have just a bunch of articles, best shoes for running, best shoes for cycling, and some informational stuff. And maybe an e-commerce store, and they've just released a new product or something like that. What would be the best practices to create a press release for those? Because often you get options, for example, maybe 3 to 5 links out of that press release, and you're wondering, okay, do I send these to the homepage, to that page? How should someone go about with that press release for those examples?
Yeah. So let's pick one of these off at a time. What was the first one that you said?
So like an affiliate, like a shoe affiliate site, they just have like best shoes for running and then informational stuff on shoes in general. So
Right.
yeah.
Okay. And so they're doing reviews and that kind of thing,
Reviews
right?
and
And
info
so,
content.
yeah, more than likely as well, they're going to do category pages on their site and some of that kind of stuff, and maybe some great articles as well. Well, I tell people a press releases should not be thought of as a one and done tactic or as part of your SEO strategy. For all of our clients in our agency side, we do a press release every month, and then we kind of stack those PRs, meaning that we interlink the PRs. So PR number 2, 3, 4 might be linked to PR number 1, or PR 4 might be linked to number 2. So we do some interlinking within those. It's just another way as well to kind of send a signal, right? Building a tier 2 to the original PR. So you're sending a signal to keep it up and active. So the first thing is that, PR is not just a one and done kind of thing. So on this shoe affiliate site, if it was the first PR, I would do it very much around build the brand, really establish and do it very focused around the brand. And I'd be linking to the homepage with a naked URL as well as a branded brand name URL to the homepage. But the brand, Randy's Shoes, that's the anchor. And I'm linking to my homepage with that. I would also in the about section of the press release. So, you've got your press release, you've got a headline, you'll have a subheader, pieces of content, then you'll have the body of the press release, and then underneath the body of the article, then you'll have an about section where you can talk about Randy's Shoe Store and I've been in business for this long. This is my experience, blah, blah, blah. And in there, I like to, on this particular first chat press release, we like to link to the about page in there. And then in the body of the site, I also would like to link to a branded foundational site. So maybe if you have a Facebook company page or a LinkedIn page, could be a YouTube or Instagram page, but also because you're trying to establish the brand, right, over the cross of the search engine. And so anytime that you can kind of send that signal and send it out through a good authoritative site, it's going to be meaningful to the search engines for that. So that would be kind of the first PR. Successive PRs beyond that then could be about specific category. Hey, Randy's Shoes expanded their category selection for running shoes, for bowling shoes, for footballs. What do you call them? Boots, right? Football boots. Yeah. We've written a few of those in the past. I remember when the first one came, I'm like, the hell's a boot? What are they talking about? Yeah, I don't play soccer. But yeah, so but we would focus maybe on a category page and try to blow that up, link to the category page, link maybe to a couple of example products that they'd like to highlight within that. Still doing a link with the brand in there as well, because I think we're always want to build that brand and to establish it. Yeah. And so that would be kind of the overall, and I just keep kind of building upon that over time as a succession. And then maybe alter, instead of doing like successive categories, do a category and then do the next one, do something maybe about a piece of content that you just put up. You can't necessarily say review because the news sites don't like that. Hey, we're doing a review of products. That they can kind of see through that aspect. They don't want that, but you can be fine to say Randy's Shoe site has launched new information and resources for how to extend the life of your tennis shoe or whatever. right? So you can still craft the piece of content around or the headline of the PR, to target the content page that you're looking for. And then, of course, link, using meaningful long tail keywords. Don't do an exact match, anchor for whatever you're trying to rank for on that page, but do a good long tail variation of that. You'll get some good mileage out of that.
Okay, that was nice and detailed. So in this example, then maybe you have a randyshoes.com/running shoes. And then within that silo page, you have like best running shoes for men, best for women, etc. And then you might do a press release, hey, Randy Shoes has new information and resources on the best running shoes for men or running shoes for men or something like that. You might link to that page. You might link to the running shoes silo page. You might link to the home page and the about page, all within that press release. And then you could literally
Yeah.
stack that successively over all your different affiliate articles.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. You got it.
Yeah.
You should come work for me.
I don't know if I could have a job anymore. I got to do my own thing. But that's awesome. I love it. So I'm assuming that that's a very similar play then with an e-commerce site, because you've already got collections pages already on there. Then you've got your product pages.
Yeah.
So you'll be doing the same thing. Hey,
Yeah.
Randy Shoes just released a brand new shoe. Or what would you do in an e-commerce where maybe there aren't any new products? Is there a strategy you would use there?
Well, even if there aren't any new products, you can still essentially, nobody knows that you don't have any new products directly. So, you can still say Randy's Shoes is expanding inventory, right? Who the hell knows? Maybe I just added a piece of, some shoelaces to it or something. But so you can still take that same approach, but you're always still trying to mix up what a headline could be and still trying to think of something that is creative, that can be attention grabbing, eye catching, right? So regardless of really what the platform is, or meaning affiliate side or e-commerce side. Local. So if you're a local business, you got a brick and mortar and you're thinking, how do I really help my ranking in the map pack in Google Map? That approach is a little bit different. Still some of the same kinds of things, because, you have a website, and in that website, somebody is really local. And especially if you're serving multiple areas, you're probably going to have, very specific location pages. Here's Randy's shoe store on Main Street, Cleveland, but I also have a location. Maybe the shoe store isn't the best. It could be a service, maybe Randy's Roofing. And I serve Cleveland, I serve Akron, I serve East Cleveland. So I'm going to have a location page, and then I'm also going to have maybe different services pages, right? So roofing repair, roof replacement, blah, blah, blah. So the same kind of approach can happen, meaning first one, we want to do really brand focused, get a lot of brand, build up the brand kind of piece, and then focus on the different locations. If you have then the GBP map or the Google map, we like to do some different linking strategies within that. So we always will embed the map in at the bottom of the press release with the full NAP plus website. So you're going to get that great citation across all of these news sites. So that's just great, right? So you're going to get very basic standard press release distribution. You're going to get 400 to 450 news pickups in that. Well, that is an immediate 400 plus citations, for your site. It's pennies on the citation, basically. But it's a great signal, obviously, anytime you can get your map in bed and get it out. The article itself, then, our writing focus is very different. So we're focusing on location, geo-relevancy. We're using long tail semantic keywords or phrases that are going to include, so Randy's Roofing services throughout Cleveland has been around, established since 2015. So we'll use phrases within that article really driving the geo-relevancy. We might even mention within that some points of interest within the article, like, hey, Randy's Roofing Service is located near Cleveland State University, right? So again, sending signals, even though they're soft signals, we're not linking to them, but we're sending signals through the article, through these authoritative news sites to Google, like, hey, this is what business is about or what it's associated with. And then we'll be selective on the linking within those. So we may then link to one of those long tail geo-relevant phrases, and we'll use different linking strategies with it. So we'll use different types of links that could be could be just the search URL of the map, could be the share URL, could be the CID URL. Could be even be a manipulated URL. We don't do a lot of that. Some of our clients do, and they like that. And so I don't tell them how they want to link. I mean, that's your SEO strategy. But we do those see that sending different signals in those links associating your business in that way really helps and improve the map ranking from that standpoint.
I'm glad you went down the local rabbit hole because I always forget about the local people who might be listening. So that's good
Yeah, yeah.
them there. But you obviously mentioned a lot of these around, I guess, are around featured articles, maybe for the personal brand and maybe more SEO style. But you also talked about initially about the viral press release style. Like, I guess you could almost call it digital PR in a sense. But do you maybe give an example of how you would do a viral, or maybe the process around a viral press release for even just our show example or local example?
Yeah. So, a viral is, you really are focused on some kind of a really eye attention grabbing headline that could have some, there's a lot of different approaches that you could do with that. Either like some exciting wow kind of factor, shocking, right? Could be something really kind of a negative take, but something that's going to gain attention from other news sites or journalists as they see it come across the wire, like, wow, what was that about? And, staying away from political stuff or any, things of potential contention, but creating a headline that can be like, wow, what is that? And then the first paragraph especially has got to be, go hit, what's the point? And again, trying to be attention grabbing, shocking, some kind of a shocking statement tends to work the best. People grab onto these things better than, like, hey, well, look at this great fluff news we have that, but people want the shocking. So you build it around that, use whatever linking strategy you want. But the focus there is that we're going to distribute, but we're really as well are trying to make this thing viral to get a lot more organic pickup. Generally, in a regular distribution, say whether it's for an affiliate or e-commerce or a local business, we'll generally see, and it's hard for us, but I just know from our own stuff, and when we see this from our own clients, we'll see probably another 10 to 15% organic pickups beyond just what we send out through our distribution service, which is pretty good, right? So if you're getting 400, 450 through our distribution service, you can get another 45 to 60 in addition to that, which is really nice. We can't necessarily report out to that because I don't know if the little, James, news site, newspaper on Long Island, picked up the story or not. I only see it because it's come through, Ahrefs or something like that. On a viral though, I mean, you really are trying to blow that thing up well beyond just, that 10 or 15%. And so, but it really comes down to that piece around the headline in that first paragraph. And then you're talking other kinds of things within the body of the article to support whatever the shocking statement is, kind of thing.
What would be the reasonable difference for, say, doing that versus maybe directly trying to contact journalists for them to take the story?
Well, that's another, and that's kind of that is your traditional digital PR, where you're crafting a story or a concept of a story, and then you're doing the approach of approaching the journalists or the news sites directly and trying to pitch your story, giving an angle that would be of interest to them. And so we do that as well. That's what we call the placements, and we'll go out and try to capture that. And so with that, then we're really are trying to look, we have the conversation with the client, like, what is it that we're trying to herald out? What's a message, a brand, whether it's a branding message or product message. And then we'll think about an angle that we can take as an approach. And maybe it's something that's relative to a very topical piece. It could be the Super Bowl or Taylor Swift, right? So something that could be relative within there. And how could we tie some of these topical relevant things that are out in the society at the moment? How could we tie the brand into that? Or what would be an angle that we could use that might gain some attraction? Then we'd essentially kind of a pitch piece, and then we would on that angle, and then you'd go and based off of the client, we would take a look at some of the publications that might be able to publish that one you're being very specific on, like in your approach. If
Yeah.
you're a supplement brand or something, you're like, hey, let's see, can we get you in Men's Health with an article and around this particular product? Or, our back to our example of the shoe site, right? So, hey, here's our shoe. We just released something, blah, blah, blah. Let's take an angle, pitch it, and we go to Men's Journal or Men's Health or Women's World or something like that and try to pitch it directly, because that's a good relative publication that'll resonate with not only probably your target audience, but as well from a brand building.
So would you say then that digital PR route is more towards, I guess, building relative, niche relevant, high authority links from these different sites that you want links from, versus the press release viral method would just be more of just kind of pump referring domains overall?
Right, right. Right. Well, and the other difference, yes, on that point, and the other difference is that you have a lot more control over the article as well, because a lot of times we'll go and we'll pitch to the publication, and then we'll write and we say, hey, we'll provide the article, and this is the angle that we'll provide it for you. They're like, okay, great. So ability then to craft that article is much greater, because it doesn't necessarily then have to be this newsworthy. It's really
Okay,
is a kind of like a guest post, right? It can be about our topic, and we can really talk about whatever it is that we really want to talk about, versus the parameters, being constrained by the parameters of a newsworthy press release.
No, that makes sense. And another thing is around the different services and press releases, because obviously there's a billion out there. You can go on, you go onto any marketplace, you'll find press releases, and they all offer similar sites or similar things. How do you know which press release service? I mean, you've got your own, so we'll obviously pump yours. But for people who are looking and be like,
Thank
okay,
you. Thank you.
but like what makes a press release service different from another press release service? For example, finding a $5 one on Fiverr versus maybe like your more quote unquote professional one on Legit or your own website.
Right, right. So that's a great question, actually. And I get asked that often. And I never really want to run down other people, but I just say, well, this is what I think are important when you're looking at distribution companies and or PR companies. One is certainly the quality of the writing, and PRs, I think, are a nuanced piece of content and really should be written with that in mind. And so, for instance, for us, we actually have human writers on our writing team. We don't AI craft press releases, because I don't think they perform well. I mean, we've played around with it. I'm not going to say we haven't. I don't think they perform nearly as well. And I think the news publications can see, I don't know if they're checking it or doing, we just don't get the same amount of pickups. And really, I think it boils down to because of the nuance of talking about the brand, talking about the product or the service, that an AI, I don't care how great your prompt writing is, it's just not going to, because a distribution service or a PR writer is going to go look at your website, is going to go look at your about section, pull information from there, pull also information from the client itself, and then begin to go craft an article from that. So I think writing is critical. The other step that we do with the writing is then as well, it goes from our writing desk over to our editor, and our editing desk, then they look at it just to be sure they proofread everything. We don't want any misspellings, and as well, they SEO optimize this thing. So we have very specific things that we want to accomplish from an optimization standpoint with these articles. So our editors, that's their task. And then it would go out to, and this is the other piece, if you're looking at PR services, is after this thing is written, and by the way, a lot of them say like, hey, you've got to provide the content. And so, that's up to you then, and that's all on your shoulders that you know what you're doing. I think a good press release service should offer writing as part of their service, because James, I don't know when's the last time you wrote a press release, or how many you have in your experience, but I mean, we write thousands of press releases every year. I mean, we have a lot of experience at doing it. This is what we do. So, I think a good service should provide that writing and focus on it. It's their expertise, right? It's not just taking an article and just pushing a button. I mean, any monkey can do that. The other thing then is the reporting aspect, which I think is pretty critical. How do you get the report? What's it look like? And what's the information in the report? So we distribute a report in 3 different ways. We're going to send you a link. So it's a web link, so you can pull the report that way and look at everything. You can also, from that web page, you can pull it down, grab and download the PDF file. You can download the Excel file, all of which can be branded for you. So if you're an agency, we do a lot of great work for agencies, and we brand all of those reports with your agency logo. So when you show that to your clients, like, hey, this is what we've done for it. And this looks great, doesn't it? But you want multiple ways to be able to download the report or have the report accessible to you. You want to see, obviously, all of the sites that it's been listed on. We've spent a lot of time and resources on developing a great reporting so that not only do you see the sites and you can go click on all of those things with the active links, but you also see how many, we've kind of created a dashboard, so to speak, that shows exactly how many pickups did it get? How many eyeballs landed on this thing? How many reads did it actually get? People clicking on the article. Where did it come from? Meaning geographically, where are you getting traffic from these things? So I think all of that is really kind of important, that sets services apart from one another. The other thing is what happens on the back end. So we talked a little bit about linking right on and helping to support those PR and news links. I think a good distribution service probably has got some kind of secret sauce that they're doing. I mean, we do a lot of stuff on the back end to support those links. I'm not going to go into great detail on that, but we do things on the back end that help and promote indexing, crawl, supporting links to the press releases. And I think that's pretty critical if you want to have a good experience on a press release. Anyway, quickly, I think when you're comparing services, look at the writing, look at the reporting, and look at what happens on the back end. Obviously, inventory, but to your point, distribution services, we're going to carry probably 80% of the same distribution sites. So it's hard to separate yourself a little bit from that, aside from your individual contracts. Like our contract with AP, our links are going to guaranteed to be there for 18 months. Very, very few distribution services have that clause with AP right now.
Gotcha. Okay. And I know you got a meeting soon, but I've got one more question for you. You mentioned around
the
editors don't want an SEO optimize the press releases, but what are you SEO optimizing for in those press releases? A lot of them, I'm assuming, aren't targeting specific maybe search terms or keywords in there, maybe more brand focused. So is there anything you're doing specific there?
No, absolutely. No, we are trying to target SEO keywords. So based on the client, based on some of the stuff that we've already talked about, if it's a shoe company and maybe I'm trying to promote my bowling shoes or my football boots or whatever, there's going to be very specific keywords that are important to you. And so we're going to use it. We may not necessarily link to all of that, right? I don't want to do an exact match, link to those critical keywords for you, but we also want to be sure that we're writing and placing those appropriately within the press release. And as well, headlines and that first paragraph are so critical about how they're structured. And our editors are just hyper trained on ensuring that those critical pieces are really hitting the fences for a home run on success. So I just find, our writers, our first pass, and our editors really is where what I think is a competitive advantage for us on our press releases.
So you might have in there like football boots, best football boots for wide feet, leather football boots, all that kind of stuff, just kind of naturally within the article as you talk through it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Perfect. Now, conscious of your time here, Randy, but where can people find you and look up your service and do a little deep dive?
Oh man, you are beautiful. Yeah. You can hit me up at 38digitalmarket.com. And that's our main website. We have a press release page specifically right in there, and go check out all of our services. We got some fun videos and some stuff. And we're actually just in the midst of rebuilding a few of our press release pages in there. So I got to go look at people on my team that have sent me a note last night. Hey, I've got this done. Come check it out. I think it's kind of cool. I'm like, all right, I haven't gotten to it yet today. But yeah, so 38digitalmarket.com. go check out our PR page. You can also, send me a note directly from that. You can hit me up on Facebook or on YouTube or in Twitter or X. Look for Randy the News Guy out there.
Is that everywhere?
I don't know. I'm everywhere.
Okay.
I guess you could look me out everywhere. Yeah, I've got a few different live stream shows as well on YouTube and across platforms. So you can see me on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern time for Hot Off the Press. And I've pulled in a lot of SEO folks. I always have a guest on there and we talk about SEO and building links and whatever the hottest trend is, what's going on. And then we just started a new live stream that's happening on Mondays at noon. And I do this one with myself, Craig Campbell, and Holly Starks. Yeah, we have all kinds of fun with that one. We just started that. Actually, this was only the second week for us. So
Is that on your channel?
That's actually is being hosted on Craig's channel.
Okay, perfect.
So
I will tune into those for sure. Go back and listen to some of those. But thanks for coming on,
Yeah.
Randy. I really appreciate you sharing all the press release information. Hopefully people can take some action on it. Yeah, cheers for coming on.
yeah, man, it's a lot of fun. I always love it.